Welcome back to the Kitchen Island. Today we will be making mini cakes, multiple tiered mini cakes, and discussing
the greatest heist movie of all time,
Inception, directed and written by Christopher Nolan.
What a mind that man has.
He's really good at making movies. He's just like very skilled at like the art of making movies.
Truly, he has never flopped. Okay, to be honest, I've never seen
The Following, Insomnia,
and Insomnia.
I've never seen Memento.
Or Memento. I have not seen those three.
I trust that Memento is good, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, the other two, I don't know. But like all the other ones, least favorite probably Tenet. Still not a bad movie
Tenet,
though.
I will defend Tenet, but I will say, yeah, the audio mixing, something went wrong there. I don't know, but the audio mixing.
It was a
weird.
choice, not necessarily a choice I agree with.
The thing is, like, was it a choice? I mean, I feel like I trust Krishna wouldn't have like seen that and been like, yeah, sign off. But like, you couldn't hear people talk, and I just didn't get that. But
anyway,
we're
not talking about Tenet today. We are talking about Inception from 2010. Truly, I think
so much damage to the like Hollywood movie trailer industry. With
truly, yes.
Yeah,
like the beginning of so many memes, cultural things. I don't know if I'm properly using the word zeitgeist. But I feel like it is somehow related to what Inception did.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started.
Do you want to do...
let's start with the white one. So we're making the first group of the tiered cakes is just a white mix.
Which, like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it does not say vanilla. It just says white. We're not entirely sure what that means, but we're just going to go with it.
And we are using a mix. We're not making from scratch because we're not there yet. We made chocolate chip cookies from scratch, but that's because they're like...
that was simpler.
Yeah, that was simple.
But we are still going to have fun. Yeah, go for it in that bowl.
Or... Well, the strawberry doesn't have to be in the Red Bull. Let's move past that for a second.
Okay. So you need... Oh, I need to preheat the oven. 350.
Yeah.
Oh, that is... Never mind. I'm going to preheat... I'll preheat the oven later just because it like, goes right at 350.
Okay.
Coat bottom of pan. We'll come back to that whenever we actually put it in. Okay, beet. Can you lay down some beets?
No, I can't.
Okay.
I can't.
Beet cake mix, water. I am on that 1 cup of water. While I'm getting that 1 cup of water, to start out with, Inception, the opening. So you open on the ocean, right? Some waves. It's 1 cup of water, right?
Yes. I'm gonna put in the three eggs. So shiny.
So, I think very rarely. That's good enough.
I was like, are you okay over there?
No, I'm sorry. I overfilled it and then I had to bit by bit pour it out until it got down to 1 again.
Should I crack the eggs over by the sink?
Yeah, go ahead, crack them over by the sink just for cleanliness. So, Inception opens with this scene of our main character, Dom Cobb, talking with this other character, Saito, who Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character pronounces Sato sometimes. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure it's Saito. Anyway, right from the get-go, I think, with that first, not scene, because it's more than a scene, the whole bit where they're in that... It looks very Chinese aesthetic, I believe. That room, that building that they're in.
Oh, interesting point that I didn't think of until kind of just now. But when you first see, it's Saito and he's old and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is there and they're in that one room with like the table and stuff, and then it switches to young Saito and
a less haggard-looking Cobb.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is there.
It does it seamlessly, I must say, too.
Yeah. same room.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because then later on, maybe I'm getting a bit too ahead, but like later on in that scene, Maul says, and judging from like the decor, it's Arthur's dream, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character's dream. So, and like what she said, like judging by the decor, like seeming that like it comes from him.
Yeah.
But then when they're in limbo, and
Sido's there, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
it's the
Arthur.
same. Yeah, Arthur. Like.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Right.
I have nothing further to say. I was just thinking, like, that's weird that it's like, apparently it's like Arthur's style, yeah, but then like Saito in the, but what
was I talking about? Oh, okay, so you have this, after Cobb washes up on the beach, and he's got these red eyes, you know, he's gross, he's eating this, like, mashed stuff with this old Saito, and then you switch...
1/2 cup oil, please.
1/2 cup oil. You switch very seamlessly
to
this...
Or do you want the...
Oh, yeah, no, that makes more sense. To Cobb, and you could almost be convinced that's like, oh, now that Cobb has been kind of taken care of and gotten something to eat, he looks better, and you have this young Saito. I don't know exactly how much they wanted to convince you what was what.
Yeah,
but I do think the transition is pretty seamless.
Yeah. Watching that, I wasn't sure what they wanted you to think. I, of course, have seen the movie before and knew what was going on,
right?
But I was really not sure what they wanted you to think was going on.
Yeah, because I've basically always known everything about Inception because I watched it when I was like younger. I never got much in terms of like plot twists.
Not to call Pillsbury a liar, but this is yellow.
That is not white. Hold on. Okay.
And I only put in 3 eggs. I only put in 3 eggs.
Good. Yeah, we're doing that top row.
It's not like there's too much yolk in here.
We're still in that first scene. We're not even out of that first scene yet. That's okay. We don't necessarily need to go in like any kind of order.
I think Christopher Nolan would want us to discuss this movie not.
I think he would appreciate going out of order. I'm trying to think about just because it goes back and forth. You have this thing, and you become aware that they are telling Saito about this like dream thing. They explain to Saito.
They like lay it down pretty quickly. They're like the dreams and your subconscious and stealing information.
They make it very easy for the audience. In this case, in this chunk, very first chunk of the movie, Saito is kind of a stand-in for the audience as they are explaining things to Saito. The audience is also learning about how this dream stuff works.
When Cobb is going on about like, oh, in dreams your subconscious is more vulnerable, and also it's my job to steal information from people.
And so and I don't think it's clunky or in your face, but he sets up very clearly like, oh, this is not the plot, but like this is the concept.
This is the mechanic.
We can go into dreams and you can, and I do think it does that very well. Of course, then you get things in there like you see this Maul character, and you immediately know something is up with her. What was her first line in the?
Okay. Lock this away. I mean, you've probably already seen the movie if you're listening to this, so you understand why. But even if you haven't seen this movie, lock this away. The first line Maul says is she's talking to Cobb. She's standing next to like a railing at this like nice building, and she turns to Cobb and says, "If I jump, will I survive?"
Crazy thing for like this character you know nothing about to be the first thing to say. Anyway, moving on.
Which could mean nothing.
Whenever it becomes aware, the reader, the audience, the watcher, the viewer, that's the word, the viewer and then also Saito become aware that this first scene is taking place inside a dream. Mm-hmm. You have, I know I don't need to say that I'm skipping ahead. We already said that we're skipping ahead sometimes. Immediately within the first, 10 minutes, I don't know how long it is, you get one of the most, like, iconic scenes. Inception is full of, like, iconic scenes, especially in terms of just, like, what it did for movie making. But the dream is collapsing scene where the level above, where it's like, oh, we're dreaming, and they're actually in this apartment, you learn about the kick when he pushes Leonardo DiCaprio into the bathtub, and as he falls into the bathtub, you have this beautiful the cinematography, plus like special effects, plus sound. Of course, Hans Zimmer. How have we made it? It's been almost 10 minutes and we haven't said Hans Zimmer's name yet.
That's crazy.
That's actually a crime.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer's score, of course, goes off this entire movie, but this track, I believe, which is Dream is Collapsing, with the water rushing into this building, is just fantastic. Yes.
The white mix we have.
It's like
made.
Ready? Okay, so we just need to make the other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to?
Now you can get the water.
Oh, okay.
1 cup of water, please.
1 cup of water. Okay.
Oh, it would make more sense to use the other thing. Then you wouldn't have to do the struggle I went through.
Is this 1 cup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that iconic scene. You see the slow-mo Leonardo DiCaprio falling back into the bathtub, the slow-mo of the water rushing in. It is truly, I wish I could watch Inception for the first time again.
Instantly, 1 cup. I just eyeballed that and it was perfect.
I guess I'm just not as good. It's a skill issue.
I'm superior to you.
Yeah, I guess. I'm also struggling to open up this bag. That's okay.
Oh, I use scissors.
Oh. But then, so they're in this apartment, and you get this, like, second ooh moment when you realize that they're not just in a dream, they're in a dream within a dream. So you also learn that is a possible concept.
Also,
you can go...
shout out to Saito for figuring that out, because he's like, this carpet is...
Saito? Underrated character in the sense that he is... Because when he offers this job to Cobb and Arthur, it's very much like, ooh, I need this corporate espionage. I'm a businessman, and I want my business. You know, he's got that. But they didn't just make him this corporate businessman who's, like, greedy. Like, it's like, oh, he's a little smart. Later on, he's not just a tourist in the dreams. He helps out.
He's helping it.
He's, like, part of the team, even though he is the guy who is, like, paying them.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah. I like Saito. Also, again, skipping ahead, but who cares? This is a Christopher Nolan movie. I like when they're in the hotel dream layer of the dream. What do you want?
The whisk.
And Saito sees the Mr. Browning, and he thinks it's Eames, and he like kind of makes a joke at him.
Yeah,
and it's not Eames, so Eames is like, hey, no,
stop that.
Stop.
But the fact that Saito was gonna make a joke with Eames, even though no, Saito is such a. I had much more appreciation for Saito this last watch than ever before.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. One of my favorite. I don't know if trope is the right word. Maybe it is. You have a team, you're assembling a team, and you have a team that each has roles. Like we said at the beginning, this is a heist movie, right? Kind of reverse heist, really, because they're being paid to insert an idea, to incept an idea, right?
Did you get the eggs?
No, I have not.
Okay, remember that.
Where are the eggs? Right next to me.
Are you okay?
I'm just thinking about Inception so much. Oh, right, roles. I love a team up. I love when you have an ensemble that has, each character has a role. And of course, I
love when the roles are, like, named.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
And so, Inception, it's a common thing for heist movies, especially. Heist movies or heist media to have those roles. And so, Inception also does. Saito, of course, they call him the tourist because he just comes along in this job that he pays them for. Later. But like we said, he still helps out. He doesn't just sit around. I mean, for a while he does because he gets shot. but
he's like throwing grenades. And,
like, even when he is shot, he is helping out.
Yeah.
So you've got he's the tourist, but really he's the guy who's paying them to do the job. That is the main plot of the movie. You've got Cobb is called. They call him the director. Like Christopher Nolan called him the director.
He's the extractor.
The extractor, right, because he would extract information. Of course, in this version, he's the inceptor.
I guess. Like,
no, I made a note
really, like,
of, like...
themes.
Look, I made a note later, skipping ahead. The theme of this episode is skipping ahead. That I made a note that they kind of, whenever we talk about how they really played Fisher, that they kind of make Fisher incept himself. Of course, like, he incepts himself with an idea that, like, Eames, as Brown gave him.
But, like, it's not like at one point Cobb tells him, like, hey, your father wanted you to be his own man. Like, it's, like, just, like, they mention stuff like, oh, about the will and, like, dissolving the company.
Yeah.
But they don't, like, really ever, like, kind of
Honestly, like as we skip around, if you have not seen the movie Inception, this would be so hard to follow. If you haven't watched Inception already, pause, go watch it, then come back. Anyway. Okay, so you've got Cobb is the inceptor / director. Arthur, who's kind of his right-hand man. He's the one who knows Cobb the most. He's worked with him the most.
He
Joseph
does the
Gordon-Levitt.
research, apparently.
He does, yeah, he researches. Although the character who, the Weasley guy at the beginning who rats him out, it was like his original job to research because he got the carpet wrong in the apartment.
Oh, yeah.
The Point Man.
Arthur's called the Point Man.
Arthur's called the Point Man. Later, as we're assembling this team, you have Ariadne, who's the architect. Of course, like, one. Yeah, no, cool job, first of all. And then also, like, you have the whole Ariadne
maze.
The Greek myth.
Yeah,
her in the maze. It's like, that makes, haha, Christopher Nolan, I see you.
I wrote an academic paper about that,
Did you really?
Yeah, that's what I showed at the conference.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. And then you have Eames, who's the forger, which he learns. His thing is that, like, using the dream, he makes himself look like other people, and I think does he at one point?
He only ever
no,
pretends
I'm
to be
thinking
too...
of Push, of like making like the one guy who makes like some paper look like $100 bills. So he
does not do that.
Yeah, but Eames like
he can make himself look like to the dream or to the target, to the mark, that he's someone else. The mark, of course, is Cillian Murphy, because you can't make a Christopher Nolan movie without Cillian Murphy. So, okay, first of all, Saito, very appreciative of his character on this last watch. Eames, of course, what a character. Yeah. He's, like, not one of the highest ranking in terms of, like, importance of the characters. He's there to just, like, have fun. Not have fun. He's there to do a job, but he's going to...
But he's going to be silly about it.
He's going to be silly while doing it. Yeah. What a guy. Love Eames. We got Eames, who are we missing? Oh, Yusuf is the chemist. He makes the sedative for when they go into the dreams. Also, him, like, in terms of importance, not very high. Right. But he does, whenever he's driving the van, all the rest of them are asleep, and it's just him in the van. That is very much, like, solo acting on that guy's part, which, all it is, like, action car chase, but I think he does a good job. Yeah. So you have this team. We love a team with names.
We love an HQ in this, like, warehouse-looking place in Paris.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're in Paris. Also,
Paris.
Something I appreciate. So you could, on the one hand, just have this movie that is a heist. Right? We're not just going to have a heist. We're going to have a heist, like reverse heist in dreams. That could have been enough of a movie. But Christopher Nolan was like, no, we're going to go further. And so you also, throughout the movie, get these bits and pieces of this kind of mystery of what's going on with Cobb, his wife, and like whether or not Inception is even possible. And they feed you these little pieces.
Like Cobb... You see, like, this small character who shows up in the dreams, like, oh, that's his wife. Oh, that's his dead wife. And she's, like, causing problems in the dreams.
And so, I mean, like... kind of weird, Cobb.
Yeah. I mean, like, the one dream, like, she wakes Ariadne up, like, by stabbing her. But, like, I mean... Yeah. They were being torn apart by the projections. So, like, I really don't fault Mull for that.
Also... continuing to appreciate, we were talking about how Saito is kind of a stand-in for the audience. Later, Ariadne becomes a stand-in. Yeah. And I love how, again, they're Christopher Nolan pulled no punches. We're just standing here. That's okay. With Ariadne, the thing about totems. Like, totems, what a cool concept. How, you have different ones. They introduced that. The whole... thing about how when the architect designs a place, you're not just designing a place, they design it as a maze because, as they mentioned, the populated projections will maybe start to swarm, and so the more maze-like it is, the longer you have.
And then, like, Arthur teaches, like, her about ways that you can manipulate.
The Penrose
impossible
steps.
Things can happen in dreams, so you can manipulate that to, make the dream feel bigger or like get away from projections or whatever. And you see him use like the Penrose steps later on to take out a projection.
Yeah. That is a fun little, they don't just introduce a concept just to like show off a concept. They do make those concepts somehow important to it. The fact that layers affect other layers. For example, whenever they joke about how Yusuf had to pee in real life, so in the first dream down, it's raining.
Yeah, and then when the van is like in 0 G,
in free fall,
or like rolling down the hill in like the first layer of the dream. In the second layer, gravity like gets it's like turning because of how,
which leads us, as out of order as ever for this video, to another one of the most iconic scenes in filmmaking, iconic fight scenes. The Arthur fight scene in the hallway. So, of course, Christopher Nolan, the king of practical effects, right? So, like, they have, like, you've probably seen these special features where they built this hallway and they built it on, like, a rotating thing so that they're actually in this rotating hallway. Props to Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the actor that's the, rando goon bad guy. Of course, because Christopher Nolan is not going to use special effects when he can. We probably need to get back to making these little cakes.
Yeah, I was saying, so the white mix is done. Is the strawberry mix done?
I'm pretty sure it's... I did cake mix, water, oil, eggs. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to pour the white mix in 6 of these.
Do you want a spoon?
Spoon.
I don't know, like, if pouring would be a little bit messy. Honestly, that's probably going to be messy, too. Never mind, just go for it.
Yeah. And then you can do the strawberry in 6, and then we'll start the dyeing process.
We've already started dyeing process.
Okay. So yeah, hallway fight, practical effects, very cool.
Also the concept, going back to the different things of like the dream concepts that they use, the whole thing of distortion of time, how 5 minutes in real life gets you an hour in a dream, and the further down you go, it becomes like exponentially more. It's almost like that will be, that definitely comes into play later.
It's almost like that's important.
Yeah. And then the whole thing where they use the music to synchronize
the kick.
Just very clever. It was a year or two ago, the song that they used to synchronize in Inception was used in like a car commercial. And I remember I cannot separate that song
like an
from
opera
Inception.
song or whatever, but like that's the Inception song. Like you have to know that Oh, but one thing I wanted to mention, when Cobb is teaching Ariadne about the dream stuff, and he says, like, never recreate whole places from memory because it makes it harder to, like, know what's real and what's a dream. Very interesting that he says that. Could mean nothing. But as we later learn, Cobb has kind of this thing, like, what's real, what's a dream. It's not like... I mean, sometimes he kind of, like, in this job, like, he's like, oh, I need to tell if I'm dreaming or not, like, what,
You do several times see him get out the top, which I'm going to come back to in a second about the top.
Yeah. Also, I like the bit of lore that they explained that the whole, like, dream, because it's, like, a special stuff. It's not just, like, something that anyone can do. Like, all the equipment and stuff was specifically made for the military.
As so they could practice.
So they could train and practice, and like people could like die and stuff, but obviously not in real life. You just like wake up. So it's good.
Good training. Explanation of how this technology exists, but how it is not common.
Yeah, and also you have like this underground. Like obviously it was made for the military, but like Cobb uses it to steal from people. But then you have stuff like. They know Eames, and like Eames is like a forger, like
he has
Eames
some sort of career in this industry
as well. It's like a full. And they're in Mombasa, and there's this like sort of underground like thing of people who come there to like So it's like it's not a huge like well known thing, but it's like it is like an industry that exists in this world.
Backing up to. Aside from just the super cool concept of like dream heist, I kind of start getting to this already, of how I'm gonna get a spoon. The mystery element of Cobb and Mal, like why Cobb is on the run.
I say mall, like you go to the mall because
they say mall. They do say mall, don't they? Yeah. Mall then.
Because it's not like it's short for Malcolm. Yeah. Like it's just mall.
Oh,
so
no, she's French.
Because you don't know. You're
what was it? Oh, about why Cobb is on the run. You also get this that like he can't go back to the United States.
At first, it kind of seems like maybe it's because what he does is like illegal. But then, as you later find out, it's because he's
wanted for the murder of his wife.
Yeah.
Which I love the kind of that mystery element to it. You
learn that he's wanted for the murder of his wife. And then you, like Ariadne, kind of have to be like, well, like, did he do it? Or like, if you trust that he didn't, like, why is he still wanted for it then?
Love those little bits and pieces that you get throughout the movie. Also, so because the actual plot of the movie is this heist, this reverse heist on Cillian Murphy's character, and of course because you need to be sleeping for this to happen, they need to plan out. Of course, it's a heist movie, so you get a lot of planning scenes. Shout out to the one scene. Okay, this was so unnecessary, but so iconic. I'm saying you do that. I need to talk. When the team is assembled and they're planning how they're going to, get Cillian Murphy somewhere to do this plan, they go into a dream together to just talk about the plan.
Well, at one point, they're in, like, the intersection in the city, just standing there talking, and that's super cool.
That's, because, like, the Inception movie poster is them in the street.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really cool shot.
Is it a dream or not? Because the one place where they're talking about, like, how to get him, get him alone for long enough to do the process.
They're, like, standing on steps, and Saito says, like,
I bought the airline. No. Yes! Saito,
yeah. No, that whenever we watched it this last time, I definitely think, like, they're in this, like, business-looking building, kind of similar to the building Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Ariadne were in. So that might have also been. They're just, like, there's no real point in them going into these dreams.
One thing about it is, due to the nature of movies, where, like, naturally, most things, they're, like, not done in one take. So you have cuts, and the audience assumes, like, okay, they went to one
another
place.
location.
They didn't film them, like, walking out of the one building and going to the next.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it can be used that, like, you can go from real life to a dream, and there's no, like, they don't show you.
There's not always a clear indication that you are now in a dream or you're now
like,
back in
I was
reality.
just thinking, like, when they're in the middle
Which
of
is such an important concept when you want to get into, like, the theories.
When they're in the middle of the street talking, I know, like, oh, they're in a dream planning, which is super cool. But when they're on the stairs, that's a lot more subtle. Time, I thought that was real life and they were just somewhere. But now that we're talking, I'm like, oh, I
they
guess
were probably
they're in a dream
together.
But, I didn't really, because it's...
Anyway, back to what I was getting about. Whenever they find out that Cillian Murphy is going to be flying from Sydney to LA, and they're like, okay, this is our shot. And of course, Saito bows out the airline. Because it's going to LA, and you already know this idea that Cobb is, like, he can't go back to the United States, he'll get arrested. You get this, like, double risk. Because you not only have the time limit of the length of the flight to do the job, because, once the plane lands, Cillian Murphy's going to need to wake up and get off the plane. But then also you need to get the job done by the time you get to LA, because Cobb is going to get arrested if Saito, who's hiring them for the job, doesn't make the phone calls.
Did we Pam this?
No, we did not.
That's fine. It'll be fine.
I do have the other cupcake tin.
Well, we already... So
okay.
We'll just see how it goes.
Anyway.
Maybe it'll get a little wonky, but we're experimenting. This is our own idea, that we...
Point being, a ticking clock, just adds to a movie, and the fact that you have, like, these two different time limits just really adds. Also, backing up to the first scene of the movie, whenever Cobb is explaining to Saito the deal with dreams, he explains, he's like, what's the most infectious parasite or whatever? And he's like, it's an idea. And whenever he was saying that, he was talking about, like, once it gets in there, it doesn't get out. And it just made me think, so he gives that explanation at the very beginning of the movie. Then, moving on to the next scene, you see Mal is there. And you, over the course of the movie, see that Mal, as we established, Mal keeps showing up in his dreams, and that's, a problem. That, like, Mal is Cobb's parasite. Mal is the idea that he, like, can't get out of his head, And then later, I was like, okay, maybe it's less that Mal is the idea he can't get out of his head, but it's like, the guilt over what happened. The guilt over not killing her, but perhaps something else.
Perhaps something else. One thing I think is, like, just the way that eventually we find out Cobb has this, like, dream thing of memories with Mal that he, like, goes into at night to sleep. And then he's, like, reliving these memories with Mal because, like, that's his dead wife, so he's, like, wanting to hang out with her the only way he can. And it's just, like, don't think that's healthy.
Yeah. Inception wouldn't exist if Cobb had gone to a therapist. Well, I suppose he's on the run. He can't really help that.
I'm thinking like boom, 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 and then like wait, we leave that one like this.
Okay, so like green
this
down
would
that way,
create,
blue
like,
down.
orange maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll see. We'll just have fun with it. So yeah, double the risk. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you have the risk established in real life, but then once you're in the dream world, normally the rules are you die in a dream, you wake up, because that's like classic dream stuff, right? But when they go, they have 3 layers deep of the dream. Cobb reveals. Oh, I got.
Okay.
Cobb reveals that if you die in these dreams that they're using with like this hyper sedative in order to be able to go 3 layers deep, if you die in one of these, you go to limbo, which is unconstructed dream space, which is honestly kind of rad. Yeah. But the thing is that in limbo, due to the time dilation, like they'll be in limbo for like hundreds of years or whatever, and so it's like you'll go crazy because just like you're like,
as Eames puts it, your brain will turn to scrambled egg.
Like your mind will just react like it will have actually lived for that long, so that's bad,
which adds an additional, not as much time limit like with the other things, but additional,
because normally like in dreams they're like, if you watch the movie, it's like, oh, well, if they die in the dream, they wake up, and, like, you lose a team member, but whatever. But in this, it establishes stakes. In a normal heist movie, it'd be like, oh, if they die, so they need to not die. Yeah. But since they're in dreams, you reestablish that stake that they can't die.
Christopher Nolan, was like, okay, normally this stake would be gone with this concept I've established, but I'm going to think of a way to reestablish it.
Yeah.
So you've got that, and whenever, going along with that, Saito gets shot. And so, because of this limbo idea, there's also that, like, oh, they need to do as much as they can while Saito's still alive. Once Saito does die in the first level, of course, then there's the whole thing where Cobb is like, I need to get Saito, because it's not even just like, oh, I care about Saito as a member of my team. It's Saito's the one who has to make the call so that he doesn't get arrested when they land. So you have Inception is, I think, in general, like, in the Vegas sense, reverse heist movie, but there's so many different parts to it that make it just so interesting. Yeah. What won Best Picture for 2010? The wrong movie, because it wasn't Inception.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to when on the first dream level where the like Saito shot and they established that like limbo is a stake now. That's also when we learn about Maul's death. In that she jumped out of a window in a different building than the suite they were staying at, but she kind of framed Cobb for her death a little bit by like telling like her lawyer and stuff, like, he said he was gonna kill me. I'm scared.
She's the original Gone Girl. I've never seen the movie Gone Girl, but I'm pretty sure she's like, oh, I was writing a diary, like making these fake diary entries. I was declared legally sane. So that way she could frame her husband for her
because
murder.
She thought that they were still in a dream, but Cobb didn't. And I mean, naturally, I'm like, unless you want to get really crazy with it, we can be like, Cobb was right and they weren't in a dream, but she thought so. And so she was like, we need to kill ourselves to wake up, like get back to like our real children and everything. And Cobb was like, no. And so she was like, okay, I'm framing you for my murder. Like jump off the. If
you don't jump and die with me, you are going to get framed for my murder.
Like, like, come on, let's get back to reality. Whoop, there goes gravity. But of course Cobb doesn't, because like he knows
they are
in reality. And she jumps, and I think Leo's acting after she jumps is really good, because it's I like that it's emotional, because like I'm tired of the Hollywood man, like, like single tiered, like just kind of like sullen face like when someone they care about dies. But I also appreciate, like, it's very like, yeah, if your wife jumped to her death in front of you,
it's not. He's
like,
not just like sad. He's shocked and like, he does. It's really, it's like 2 seconds long, like when she jumps and his reaction. But I do think he won an Oscar for The Revenant. I'm sure he was good in that, but this is what I know Leo's acting for. Oh, do you need?
I just need a place to put it down where maybe I can reuse it at some point. So, you after this certain point, you are aware of like, okay, what kind of went on with
Maul, why Cobb is on the run, and that whole murder thing. Which
so
is
you're like, okay, he didn't murder her. That's good.
Yeah. And so you also have, what this also accomplishes is giving the characters, especially, our main character, Cobb, a little more character than just, like, cool heist guy.
Also,
Danny Ocean.
Sorry, I know, sorry to interrupt, but, earlier, Ariadne goes into his aforementioned,
Unhinged.
like, memory.
Ariadne.
Oh, yeah, Ariadne was,
she was
met
wild,
this
man, like, a day ago, and she's like, I'm going to be interrogating about his life. I'm going to be inserting myself into his dreams. You could not catch me.
Yeah. Anyway, and there's this level where Maul is in, like, this hotel suite that's been kind of wrecked. A scary scene, honestly. Watching that, like, Maul is scary in that scene, and like I'm telling you, that scene, just like it's like 1 minute of like that lowest level, like the suite with Maul, and she gets like the cracked glass, like horror movie vibes.
It does. It truly does.
And then we later learned that place is the suite that she like jumped up. Well, technically
she
not.
didn't jump out of that. She jumped out. Yeah, but that was the suite that Cobb was in whenever she jumped out and killed herself.
And she also, like, I think it's shown like when he gets there in real life, like it's wrecked. So I think like Maul set up that there was like a violent altercation.
Yeah, she made it look like they would have had a fight and he pushed her or something. Yeah, so I know we're talking about this very out of order, and like the movie, the way it gives you these bits and pieces, also very in true Christopher Nolan fashion. He gives you bits and pieces, slightly out of order, so that you could. Which is why I wish I could wipe my memory and watch Inception again to like see how I would think about these things. Because the train thing also, very beginning of the movie. You see it's a shot, I think, of like from Leo's point of view looking at Maul while they're on the train tracks. Later, you have these bits and pieces of the train thing.
A train.
Yeah, you hear these lines that they exchange with each other in the first level of the dream. They get hit by the train.
The train comes through like the city. Like obviously it's not supposed to be there. And Fisher has been trained to work against extractors, his subconscious. But the train is from Cobb. That's like
So the train thing is also sprinkled throughout, and of course, eventually you learn that after Cobb and Maul had been in limbo for so long, and they're like now they're going to get out of limbo and go back to reality. The way that they choose to kill themselves is to get hit by a train, and so that's them laying on the train tracks and the line about you don't know where it'll take you,
but like you don't know what it'll take you, but it doesn't matter because you'll be together. One thing that I appreciate, and this is kind of going all the way to the end, but you see those flashbacks of like Cobb and Maul like strolling through limbo and like holding hands, and it's like married coupled vibes, and like them holding hands with their heads on the train track, and then at the very end,
oh my gosh, this projection. I need to pause you right here for a second. Well, I don't know exactly what you're about to get to, but that reveal, there's multiple like reveals in Inception. There's the one about like, oh, Maul committed suicide, but then like the reveal that, oh, she committed suicide because she was believing that they were still in a dream and they had to keep killing themselves to wake up. There's like that. Then there's a reveal that I'll get to. I'll let you finish your thought.
Okay, well, let me go to a different thought real quick. But just like when in Cobb's flashbacks, when he's like about how like she didn't believe reality was real, and it's her being like. One that I find particularly sad is that she's like yelling at the children. You don't really like see it, but she's like something like that's not my daughter, and Cobb is like, yo, like are you kidding me right now? Can you stop? And she's like, they're just projections. Like you like I can tell that they're
she's like I'm
real.
Their mother. I can tell.
Like I can tell that they're not real. And like that's really sad. Like the whole thing, he's like, I gotta get back to my children and everything, but like. Do you think like they're probably gonna have a little bit of trauma?
No, those
that
kids
their
are
mom,
definitely
like,
traumatized. Those kids
would-
need to go to therapy.
Yeah. Like that their mom would be like, "You're not real," and then like, yeah,
And
that's,
then, yeah.
but getting back to what I was doing at the very end, when Projection Mall is like, Cobb, stay in limbo with me. We can grow old together. Like, you know, we got married, and like that was the promise. Like we would grow old together. And Cobb is like, I mean, first of all, he's like, well, I have to get back to reality. I can't stay here with you. And she's like, but you promised we'd grow old together. And he's like we did. Like
that
remember
reveal. That
when,
is
like,
what I was
when we were in
talking
limbo
about.
for 50 years, like we did grow old together. And I think it's.
I think that is one of the underrated reveals
reveals.
of Inception. The fact that like that they spent like 50 whatever years.
Do you want to put this in?
Because
Because like I mean it's colored.
Yeah, let's just pop it in there. How long is it supposed to go in there?
It's probably a little bit less.
It
than
says
it
says
because-
19 to
because
23.
they're not as
Yeah.
full,
So
like should I set a timer for like 15 seconds?
15 seconds. Yeah, sure.
Um,
No, definitely. I think an underrated reveal that like you. Oh my gosh, I could just keep going on about how like they feed you these bits and pieces. They give you these little reveals throughout the movie. Yeah, and so you have these like emotional type reveals combined with all these cool special effects, practical effects, these cool concepts. I want to get back to Robert Fisher, Cillian Murphy's character, and number one, how like just annoyed he is. Whenever they are trying to like they kidnap him and he just has this demeanor about him where he's just more annoyed more than anything.
in the first dream when he thinks like that's reality and he's just being like extorted in the back of the taxi, he's just like, here's my wallet, here's my watch. Like he's like, okay, like now that you've robbed me, can you at least drop me off at my stop?
Yeah.
Like honestly, oh,
I do love. Also, like we said, so Cillian Murphy's character Fisher is the heir to a business that Saito wants to be dissolved. So all we really know about Cillian Murphy, his character Fisher, is that he's going to inherit this business. At no point, I believe, is it said that he's like greedy businessman or villain or bad at all. He's just all he's done wrong is be the son to the competitor of Saito.
oh, yeah.
So he's just, and so whenever they play him, they pull out the Mr. Charles character of telling the Mark that they're in a dream in order to, still basically get Cillian Murphy to agree to go under himself, and that's what brings him to the bottom level of the hospital, the snowy area. And it is funny that like then in that level of the dream, he is like part of their team. Like they're like breaking into the hospital.
I feel bad for Fisher the whole movie because he's just getting like duped, and he's just but like also like he's not a bad guy when like Cobb does the whole Mr. Charles thing, and he's just like, oh, I had it. Like it's just like.
No, you can see that he's like stressing. He's like trying to remember the numbers that he had said and everything. And it's like this man has been traumatized, and for what? It is not his fault.
Yeah.
And of course, they are also changing something about his subconscious because the whole core of how they're trying to, what they're trying to incept Fisher with has to do with the relationship he has with his father, who is now dead. So they have now like changed this character's subconscious relationship with his father, which is insane. Which is another one of the reveals that I love. Not really a reveal. I shouldn't call this a reveal. Whenever they get to this hospital. So also one of the dream concepts that they set up being your subconscious will, if they're in your dream world, there's like a safe or a bank or a vault, it will automatically fill it with a secret.
Dream world with like a vault or a jail, the subconscious, when it populates the world, will just put information in
naturally do that.
So
this bottom level of the dream, which is it's like this hospital, but it has this vault. So
it's a hospital in this like military base.
Yeah,
in a mountain.
it doesn't need to be because that's what it is.
It's a dream.
It's a dream, and so the architect has to design this kind of confined, this limited space. But so whenever Cillian Murphy gets into the vault and it's his dream projection of his father, earlier in the movie, you learned that the last words Cillian Murphy's father said to him, not Cillian Murphy's father,
Robert
Fisher's father said to him,
Maurice,
yeah, was disappointed. And so Robert Fisher has this, this thing that, like, oh, his father was disappointed in him. And, like, he didn't have a great relationship with his father. But then the way they twist it in the dream, oh my gosh. The whole Eames Browning thing, how they, like, frame Browning in his subconscious to be a bad guy in order to get him to have a better relationship with his father. They don't make, it's not Eames who is the projection of his father. Mm-hmm. It's at that point already in Fisher's subconscious. It's Fisher's subconscious that makes his father's projection say, like, oh no, I wasn't disappointed. I was disappointed that you tried to be like me.
Yeah, he's like, I know you were disappointed I couldn't be you. And the projection is like disappointed that you tried.
Like mind-blowing, brain-altering moment for me.
And then he opens
the
up the safe with like the alternate will, and then there's also
and like he had said earlier, or like maybe Browning had said, the Eames Browning had said that like the safe that they couldn't get into had like something very important. It had the alternate will. It was like his most important possession. So then whenever Cillian Murphy opens it in this third dream level, and it's like, oh, the most important possession in this subconscious was the pinwheel from childhood memory of him and his father. And
the way that they find in that Fisher's wallet, like in his dream, like just subconsciously what he's like, what's in his wallet is the picture of him and his father with the pinwheel. He's such a sad man.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Fisher.
Honestly, I hope that like once he dissolves the company, he like does something that he loves and just like I hope he just his life is
better.
Yeah.
But so that also another one of my favorite moments in the movie, because of the whole thing about the kicks and how to get out of the dreams. There's a big emphasis on being able to time things and line them up. And so the lining up of, I wrote this down, the way that they have Arthur, because once the van in the top level of the dream is in free fall, Arthur's level in the hotel doesn't have gravity anymore. The way he big brains a way to orchestrate a kick without gravity, iconic. Mm-hmm. Arthur in that level, his fight, his doing the elevator, just icon. The Arthur getting the elevator explosion, lining up with Call and Mab, Cobb and Maul in Limbo, Fisher with his father getting into the vault, finding the pinwheel, exploding the hospital, and the van going off the bridge, eventually hitting the water, and the way they make all these things line up.
No, I was watching it, and I was like, I like how you have each dream has like its own plot line, but unlike in different movies where like you have these plot lines, like each one affects the other. It's a completely different situation, but it affects the other plot lines because they're just other layers of the dream, and I like that.
Yeah,
you can do your own color, whatever you want.
I realized I've been talking while you've been doing a lot of this. So they all the things line up, and then also like the exploding the hospital, that lining up with everything. And to just further add, what color did you add to that one?
This was blue and red.
Oh, you were like mixing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm an alchemist.
Yeah. I'll do this. Of course, what really adds to this, everything lining up is, of course, Hans Zimmer's score. Hans has never gone wrong, I'll tell you that. So you get, there we go. Right, so they ride the kicks up, but then it's not even, we've done this successful job. Where are we've done this successful job, yay, because Saito's dead, and so you still have this like whole thing about
they need to
getting
go to
Saito
Limbo.
out of.
Well, because Fisher also died in the last dream, so they had to get Fisher. Limbo. They have to get him from Limbo, but then also Saito's dead, so they have to get him from Limbo. So Cobb has to stay in Limbo a little bit.
Yeah, Cobb and Ariadne end up in Limbo,
and then
this is
Cobb
when like
goes
the
to
reveal.
Saito, and you see, and it's like, it's the scene. It's the first scene of the movie. It's him on the beach, and then it's Saito. Oh my gosh.
backing up before
Oh.
that. So when they're in limbo and they find, like, Cobb and Ariadne are in limbo, and he's like, yeah, I know where Maul will be, and she'll have Fisher.
Oh, you're talking about the reveal?
The reveal.
Oh, why have we not talked about this yet,
So they go to the, like, house, the apartment house where Maul is, and so at this point, you've been fed these bits and pieces. You know that Maul thought she had been convinced that she was dreaming. She killed herself because she thought she needed to get to reality. Cobb was framed for her murder, and now Maul, pops up in his dreams, and she's like a problem and everything. Earlier in the movie, whenever, I think it's in the first level of the dream, maybe, Cobb is explaining to Ariadne that somewhere in Maul's subconscious, while they were dreaming, she had this idea planted that they were always in a dream. That they were always in a dream, therefore, like, oh, we need to get out, which is why, she kept on wanting to kill herself. And you see, like, while he's talking, you see the visual is Maul going into this little dollhouse.
No, it's that Maul, like, in limbo, she decided, Cobb is talking, and he's like, while we were in limbo, she accepted that as her reality. And you see the visual of her opening that safe in this dollhouse and putting in her totem the spinning wheel, but top. Like on its side. Like it's fallen, like this is real, which is then presumably
yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, limbo.
No, I was explaining it flip-flopped. Yes. So she has the spinning top on its side, meaning reality. So therefore, in her subconscious, she thinks this is a reality. But of course, Cobb, like we said, Cobb is like, we need to get back to our real life. And so you have this reveal at the end of the movie when he and Maul are talking in limbo that Cobb found that safe, took the spinning top, started spinning it in that safe, and therefore that was why Maul always thought she was in a dream. It was because Cobb planted that idea, and that was the Inception. That is how Cobb knew Inception was possible, because he did it on his wife. He did it on his wife, and that's why, she killed herself. And that is, like, the big reveal of all the reveals. How are they looking?
They're done.
Coolio. You need mitts. And then... I'll put that there. Yeah. So, of all the reveals, and of course, like, that one being at the end of the movie, it's like, whoa. But then what you were getting at, yes, whenever... I have to find Saito, and in Christopher Nolan fashion, you have this chronological thing where him washing up on the beach at the beginning of the movie was actually what happens at the end of the movie. It's him looking for Saito. And so they also have this exchange of words that they had said earlier in the movie about the being an old man filled with regret, and then, like, going back and being young men together. So
they did turn out puffier than...
That's okay. We can make this work. Yeah. I'm gonna scoot this. So, at this point in the movie, we're still not done yet. You have this successful Inception job, where they got Fisher to have this idea about his relationship with his father, which will lead him to break up his company. That's done. They got Saito out of limbo. They got Fisher out of limbo, of course.
They're fine. They are not sticking.
Oh, cool. Ariadne's out. Eventually, we have this reveal. Cobb gets Saito out. Also, and then the way...
Can I speak?
Okay, yeah, go.
One thing I like, during the confrontation with Projection Maul and Limbo, one thing that I like, that Cobb, part of his thing is that, like, this dream Maul is, like, something he misses his wife and stuff, and, like, he keeps her, like, in his subconscious, and then, like, in Limbo, she's like, stay here with me, and, like, Cobb would love his wife to be alive. But one of the things that he says, he's like, but, like, you're not my wife. You're, like, my projection of her, which, like...
I think it's a really big character moment.
character
him.
moment. He's just like just. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I turned it off.
That was fine.
It's
not realization, but him coming to terms with the fact that like she is just his subconscious. He says that like, the real wife, like with all her perfections and imperfections.
I couldn't conceive of all of my wife because like she was like this person. So like you are just only just like this.
He calls her a shade, right?
Yeah, shade. Like just like what I understand of my wife. So like you could never be her because you're not like
which doesn't make the projection very happy, but it is also just very good continuing with like giving Cobb really some character.
I know that we made this multiple color, and then we made the icing multiple colors, and so presumably the icing would cover the colors of the cake. But like,
whenever you bite into it, you'll see.
Okay, yeah, it's fun. It's silly. Goofy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as we try and wrap up both these multi-level mini cakes and our discussion of Inception, we come to the last scene of the movie, which, as a scene, doesn't have as much because everything at this plot-wise is done. But I think it is one of the most important ending scenes of cinema. So you see all the characters, they're off on the plane now. You have this tense moment where Cobb is going through immigration or customs or whatever, and it's the moment of truth of if he's about to get like flagged and arrested, but the guy just stamps his passport and he's like, "Welcome home, Mr. Cobb," and it's like, whew, Saito made those calls. And so he's walking through the airport, you see him seeing all the other members of the team. They don't talk to each other, right? Because what they did was just highly illegal. It's not like they're going to be having...
There's nothing to say.
Yeah, they're not going to be having barbecues together anytime soon.
They're not getting t-shirts.
Yeah. Team Inception. And so... And the thing that I really am trying to get to is Hans Zimmer's Time. I believe the last track of the movie, his song Time. It is my favorite Hans Zimmer track of all time. Haha. But
I think mine is Uguay Ascends.
Uguay Ascends is also very good. Top 10 for sure. But so you have this very dramatic, like I don't have the words to express what time evokes, what the track's time evokes. But you
Party,
see,
rock.
Oh my gosh, if you have not already, I'm going to plug, I think Morancy, I can't remember what the YouTube channel is called. Look up Time and Party Rock Anthem. It's this mix, and it changed my life. Anyway, he goes to the airport. He goes back to his home. There's also been this whole thing throughout where in his dreams, he sees his kids, but he always sees them like from the back. Like he never sees their faces because whenever he, was found out like, oh, I'm going to get arrested for my wife's death, and he had to go on the run. He didn't get to like see his kids one last time. He had to go. And so every time you've like seen his kids in the dreams, he never sees their faces. But of course, he wants to see his kids, of course. And you're at the house. Oh my gosh. How do I explain it? Watch the scene first of all, if you haven't already. If you haven't already, what are you doing? If you haven't seen Inception, what are you doing? Time is playing. He's at the house. The grandpa, Michael Caine. Like calls to the kids like, "Oh, look who's here." And of course, also what a scene where Cobb spins the top on the table. And I wrote
to tell if he's in a dream or not. If we haven't mentioned that, but like the spinning top, if it spins forever, you're in a dream because that's impossible. But if it wobbles and falls over, you're in reality.
So he spins the top, but then he leaves the top. He makes the choice to, I'm not going to look at the top. I'm going to go look at my children's faces, which is something he had been choosing not to do.
It's almost like he made a leap of faith.
Oh my gosh! He chooses to see the kids' faces. Of course, the camera doesn't follow him going to see his kids. The camera stays on this spinning top, which does continue to spin. And then right there at the end, you like kind of see a little wobble and then, cut to black. That was probably very loud right in front of the mic. And so, on the one hand, you have so many layers to this, okay? You have him...
Like our multi-layered mini cakes.
You have the layer of him spinning the top to see if it's in a dream. You have the fact that the top is spinning for a while, but then you see it wobble. You don't see it fall. You just kind of see a little wobble. But then you And so there were theories of like, oh, he's still in a dream. He's not actually with his kids. He's in a dream.
I'll be honest, like, he's still in a dream. Lamest theory you could have.
Not true. Because you had been told early in the movie, he told you, the spinning top isn't even his totem. It was his wife's. So, like, it's not his thing. So it wouldn't even tell him if he was... So it's this whole thing. I know there's, like, the theory that his wedding ring is his totem. I don't know how...
I mean, I feel like that could easily be proven or disproven by just watching the movie.
I meant whenever we were watching it, I meant to look for scenes where he was wearing his ring and scenes where he wasn't. But that last scene, and especially that last shot of, on the spinning top, because the spinning top became, like, the symbol of Inception. Like, if you were to play a game where it's like, I give you a symbol, a simple little thing, and you tell me what movie.
At the movie theater, that's like, can you guess the movie?
Yeah.
Like, spinning top, that'd be...
If you see a spinning top, you know it's Inception. Well, okay, I kind of thought we were going to stack them and then do icing, like...
Oh, I thought we were going to do, like...
Well, we can do multiple.
Well, you can do that for yours, and then...
Yeah. But that last scene, Time by Hans Zimmer, there's very little dialogue. Like, there's some dialogue with him at customs and then Michael Caine talking. But it's just, what a scene, what a movie. Truly, I think, like I said, how did you get these out?
Beth, I really...
Okay, fine. Truly, I think, I know it's in 2010, so it was like the beginning of the 2010s. Iconic movie of the 2010s, of all time. I feel like I'm overusing the word iconic, but I don't really care. Everything Christopher Nolan does is iconic. Oh my gosh, this is...
I think Inception... Okay, aside from maybe, like, The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, Inception is, like, the most in chronological order of a movie.
Of his movies? Yeah, very possibly. I know, with his Batman movies, he didn't do as much of the time wonkiness. Okay, so
sometimes it's weird to think about Christopher Nolan did a Batman movie, did 3 Batman movies.
Okay, this is looking a little messy, but that's okay.
This was our own, not recipe, but like
our
strategy.
Own little, yeah. I'm trying to think of any last things just to mention about like the complexities, the depth, the fun that this movie is. Because there really is, we could not cover everything related to Inception.
But it's a fascinating movie, and like the fact that Christopher Nolan, like it's an original idea, you know.
Yes.
It's not
in
a
world
book
full of sequels and adaptations and reboots.
You know, it's just like he was like,
my greatest fear is I'm watching YouTube or the TV and an ad comes on, a commercial, a trailer for Inception 2. Worst fear.
Mine is so sad.
I know. These are looking a little rough. To anyone who's just listening, be glad because these are looking a little rough.
When I tell you, this is the most pathetic clown tower of a cake. But let's go.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
I do like the colors.
The colors are fun. And it's not bad. It just looks ugly. And my hands are super messy.
Okay.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10 levels of a dream, I'd give it
I'm going to say
5.
Yeah, these are pretty 5.
They're pretty, like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bad, but... Like,
I'll continue to eat this.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening to our ramblings about the greatest heist movie of all time, Inception, directed by Christopher Nolan.
Dreams, Inception. Cakes, Minied.
Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.